Toyota has now recalled yet another 127,000 vehicles, and this puts to question Toyota's reliability reputation. Let's face it, folks, people buy Toyotas for their incredible reliability reputation, and this is a direct challenge to it. This is that new 3.4 liter engine that can be found in the GX, LX, as well, of course, in the Toyota Tundra. So that's the new 3.4 liter twin turbo. In this video, we'll cover what engines are covered and what engines are not covered that use that 3.4 liter engine, because it's kind of surprising the Tundra hybrid isn't covered. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about what the cause or supposed claimed cause of all this is, and I'll want to know and get feedback from you. If you know anyone who's been affected by one of these engines, or if you're considering to buying one of these engines, this is must know, need to know information. Don't be fooled. So let's put the pedal to the metal. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and let's get into what's going on with the Toyota Tundra, Lexus GX, and Lexus LX to find out how there's now a new 127,000 vehicles affected. And this goes actually all the way back to 2022 models and now includes the 2024. So let's put the pedal to the metal and get right in. Now, Toyota's reliability is being put into question with this recall. There's a lot of positive and some negative behind this story, so let's cover this from every angle. I'm not here to completely trash Toyota. Heck, back in college, I used to be a Toyota fanboy. From university, I still, to my left here, or your right, I still have my Toyota MR2 that I owned back in about 2005 to 2012, bought it back in about 2020 and have owned it and put thousands of dollars into it. Mind you, this also has had a crankshaft bearing go on it several times, and it's on its fourth engine. So we can say that this story means a lot to me, and I want to know how this story has affected you, whether you know someone who owns one. Drop it in the comments, or maybe it's made you hesitant or not hesitant at all to buy one of these brand new Toyotas. So this is that 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 engine, hailed as the future of their full-size trucks and SUVs. This is important because a lot of people were sad to see, the bygone era. We had to say goodbye to Toyota's previous V8 in the Tundra, as well as in several Lexus models, and that V8 was incredibly reliable. It took a lot of fuel, but it was incredibly reliable. So this does, make people hesitant in regards to reliability. And I'm not here just to be all negative. Like I said, I love my Toyotas. I've owned about 10 Toyotas. 4 or 5 of them were Toyota MR2s. I put thousands of dollars into this Toyota MR2 and still love it, but we'll have some insider information both as a journalist and as an owner, because this really is coming from the crankshaft. And well, Toyota is saying, I'm used to saying Ford, because Ford does recalls as well. Both companies stand behind their product. So you can comment what you think about that, but I personally think it's great that Toyota is standing behind their product. I think it's less great that they're still going with the recycled or rehashed excuse. Maybe it's the case, maybe it isn't, but they're saying that it's because of machining debris, that machining debris that doesn't get cleaned out in the engine, or hasn't in the past, can then mixed in with the moving of the crankshaft. It can get in between the crankshaft and a bearing, and it can make a bearing go. And when the bearing goes, you can have a little trouble starting up the engine. And once it does go, it can cause complete failure of the engine. So that's obviously not so great. And this recall, which I've been covering now for a couple of years, originally in my original story, I did cover very clearly that I had suspicions of it not being machining debris because it happened in the engines, remember, are made in 3 different factories. And those 3 factories aren't located all in the same city. They're located not only in 3 different countries, they're located on 3 different continents. So I didn't quite understand how 3 different factories on 3 different continents could all miss cleaning out some machining debris at the bottom of the engine where the crankshaft is located. Now, Toyota's still going by this claim, while there's about 127,000 more vehicles now covered in this recall. Not the hybrid, only the twin turbo V6 non-hybrid 3.4 liter engine that's found in the Lexus GX, LX, and the Toyota Tundra. But they're still saying it's machining debris, and they're now covering models for 2024. Now, part of the reason I originally had doubts that it was machining debris that was causing this, and still have major doubts, I want your comments, but here's my reasons for my major doubts. And this is one of the negative aspects, or the don't be fooled, that I'm still going to be covering on the Toyota Tundra engine. I have trouble believing that at first, 3 factories on 3 different continents all missed cleaning up the debris. And I also, with the original recall, said, but however, there's 2023 models and 2024 models that are still having engine failure. And in 2025, earlier this year, I was saying there are 2025 models still covered, having engine failure or trouble starting up. So I said, how can it be that they originally missed it? That can happen. If they originally missed it and said it's machining debris and then did correct it and we no longer had any issues, then I truly believe it. But they're also targeting certain dates. Now, with those certain dates, you'd think that the problem would be corrected and it wouldn't continue on. It wouldn't persist. However, it has persisted, and now I know I previously had said I feel it's still persisting. We're still getting viewers, we're still getting other YouTube channels, and we're still getting reports and lawsuits of people who have the problem persisting. So how did they not learn to clean out and verify for the machining debris? So I originally questioned, could it be that the crankshaft's bearings aren't strong enough? Now, for the Toyota MR2 beside me, the 4 engine losses, the heads, are always in tip-top shape. Especially my last motor, I actually resold the heads because I had solidified the heads and made them stronger with ARP heads and a metal head gasket. And the heads were still in fantastic condition. But it was a crankshaft bearing that disintegrated and grenaded the bottom of the engine. So at first it had trouble starting, it had trouble, a lot of rough idle. So I figured, oh, it needs to go to the dyno. It's because we played around a little with everything. So I took the full blame. Now, I don't think anyone who currently owns a Tundra should be taking a blame for this issue, and neither does Toyota, which I think is fantastic that they're being responsible, and their solution is wonderful. Their solution is not a cheap one. It's to actually change the whole motor. However, some people are having engine issues that aren't covered in the recall within their specific VIN number. That was previously, and this is why Toyota has now. It's taken some time, but I'm quite pleased that they're being responsible and now expanding to add 127,000 extra units from Toyota and Lexus to cover the people that, one user actually started to filed a lawsuit because his VIN wasn't covered. Now, in the link below, I'll cover in the description a little link that you can click to go check with your 17-digit VIN number to verify if you're currently affected and possibly up for a new engine. But as I pondered or questioned 2 years ago, what did I question? I questioned that it is a design flaw. So I personally feel, based on the evidence mentioned, or the variables, not evidence, but the variables at play, the fact that it's 3 different factories on 3 different continents that are all having the same problem, that the problem has persisted beyond Toyota recognizing the initial problem. You think then, of course, they're gonna put someone in charge, or a machine or a person or people or machines, a program in place to ensure that none of this machining debris persists and continues to be found at the bottom of the engine. It would have done that, but the problem has persisted. So I still think it's a design flaw. I'm still worried that even when you get your brand new engine, you're gonna have problems later on. So for me, as much as I love Toyotas, and I'm sure I've owned 10 or more, because I've owned 2 Celicas, I've owned a Camry. I loved the Camry. The Toyota Avalon was incredible. I've owned 4 of these, and I'm probably forgetting one or 2 Toyotas in that mix, but I've loved my Toyotas. but I'm very hesitant to recommend people get a new Toyota Tundra. And even less a used one. Now, if you get a new one that's under warranty or you're just leasing it, if you're just leasing it, the worst that can happen is with how many vehicles are being recalled, if your engine stops running, you might, as some people have, had to live through, you might lose your vehicle for 10 weeks because it could take the dealership, maybe you're lucky and it takes them 1 week to get the engine in and install it. And maybe you're unlucky and it takes 10 weeks or more. Now, I'm sure Toyota will provide you with a vehicle in the meantime, but will they have enough trucks? Will the dealership have enough trucks to be able to lend you a truck? And maybe you absolutely need a truck. Your Tundra purchase might be for business reasons. And if they're out of Tundras and, provide you, let's say, a Corolla or a RAV4, an SUV, you might find that a pretty unfortunate situation. Now, something else that bothers me in all of this is the fact that the Toyota Tundra Hybrid isn't recalled, isn't covered in this recall, and there are reports of people having rough idle, trouble starting up, and complete loss of power, which means when you get a complete loss of power in these situations, sounds like it's the motor that has the bottom grenaded itself, like several of these last Toyota MR2 engines. I know, very different engine, but let's remember that turbos put more pressure on a system. And that's been the tendency in the automobile industry. Big motors, because the saying used to be there's no replacement for displacement, meaning if you want more power, get a bigger engine. Well, the modern direction to fix all of that, because bigger engines often take up more fuel, more power, more fuel. However, and we love more power here. However, engines have been getting smaller and mostly turbocharged and occasionally supercharged. I love the supercharged solution because the instant low-end torque in most applications. However, turbos do add added pressure. So then this is what's happened at Toyota. They had an unbreakable V8 engine in the Tundra as well as in the Lexus. And now they've gone 4-cylinder, smaller, but turbocharged to still give you a great amount of power and for the fuel efficiency, the fuel economy benefits. Let me know in the comments section, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good idea? Or do you think, you put a big X on that and you think we should still be going with bigger, more reliable V8s that are naturally aspirated? Let me know in the comments section, please. For now, it does bother me that Toyota hasn't covered the hybrid engine because it's, well, a 3.4 liter engine with a turbo. It's the same block, but it has an electric component added to it. Now, it would appear that major problems like complete engine failure are less frequent, but there are owners claiming they've had engine failure. So it bothers me that this isn't covered. Now, you can go to Toyota's website to check your VIN. I'm sure soon, or if not already, you can go to the NHTSA website, NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Association, put in your VIN and see if you're covered by this recall. But especially if you're a current owner, let me know what you think. If you're a potential shopper, drop a comment below in the comments section to answer, does this make you hesitant about buying a Toyota? What I feel is quite concerning is that people buy Toyotas for the most part, not because they're offering the most power, not because they're certainly not offering the most tech at the lowest price. People have bought Toyotas traditionally going all the way back to the 60s because over decades they've built an unbeatable reputation for reliability. And now that we're going to smaller engines with turbos, it seems like that reliability is being put into question. And this particular recall, being that it's been years that they've been able to, that they should have, they've had years to address the debris, uncleaned machining debris at the bottom of the engine. And either they haven't, which is concerning in itself. There's a problem, you know what the problem is, and you can't resolve it. Or my suspicion, let me know in the comments what you think, but my suspicion and my opinion is that the real problem we've got here on our hands is that this is a design flaw, and Toyota maybe either doesn't know or maybe doesn't want to admit that they've got a major design flaw on their hands. We'll know the truth in the new refresh when they redo the platform of the Tundra, the whole remodeling of the Tundra. If they change engines, if the engine code changes, maybe they'll still go with a 3.4 liter, which in marketing they like to call, I think, a 3.5 liter. But if they still have a 3.5 liter, but with a different engine code, that means they've changed the design. So let's keep an eye on this. But in the meantime, drop your comment below how you feel about all this. What are your thoughts? And until next time, I wish you all more cars and more power. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. I want to say a special thank you to all the subscribers and an extra special thank you to the members. You help make all this possible. You keep the channel, the lights on. I have two burnt out lights in the back, so we need more members. If you want to help out this channel and this automotive news channel, trying to bring you the real deal and make sure that none of you get fooled. I'm not just, negative on other brands. When Ford's got a problem, I'll talk about it. I love that Toyota has been doing a recall, that they're very responsible for their product. They're not just blaming the owners the way my 1999 Porsche 911, when that should have been a major recall on the IMS bearing that can grenade your entire engine, but Porsche never took responsibility for it and never did a recall and switch up the part. So Toyota's doing a great job in all of this. But really what matters is the opinion of buyers. That's why we want to hear from you in the comments. Until next time, I wish you all more cars and more power. Godspeed and God bless everybody. See you in the next video.